Took me nearly 30 years to really kind of fathom out some of the intricacies of walking. When I first met Masaki Atsumi and watched his martial art, his emphasis on moving and floating in your walk were massive, and I expected when you trained with him that you would be learning locks and throws and all of those things, and by accomplishing those you would be an accomplished martial artist. But you soon learn with Masaki Atsumi that the emphasis changes. It moves to different topics, different concepts that really bring about and nourish you as a human being and not just a martial artist. And one of the key aspects that impacts health and the martial art was walking. So Masaki Atsumi would say that all martial arts are done through your walk. It would say things like you have to learn to float in your walk as well. So what I'm going to try and do today is break down in this video some of the aspects of floating walk from research and my own experience training with Masaki Atsumi. And let's see if we can just shed some light on this topic. Okay, we're up in the dojo. Let's talk a little bit about standard views of walking and just get some background here. So when we walk, there is a couple of different phases to walking. There is a swing phase, okay, where the leg kind of pendulums across when we take a step, and there's a stance phase. The stance phase is a fixed part of the leg. Now it's said that the stance phase is the part of the walk that you can actually educate. So we'll put that to one side for the minute. We can maybe talk about that more in another video. But the swing phase, this phase where the leg kind of pendulums out and forwards as we move, is known to be very similar across a broad spectrum of people. Okay, so it's kind of the unconscious part of the walk. It's not the part we really control. It's very similar even in young children as well. So that's something to be studied separately possibly. But I just want you to bear in mind that's a foundation. We walk, and I'll put something on screen about the tripod of the foot, but we kind of walk from the heel of the foot, we go up the outside towards the little toe, and then we come to the big toe and spring off. Okay, so we're kind of using ground force to do that. What most people do when they walk though is they don't take enough, they don't utilize gravity enough. What gravity is doing is drawing your mass forwards for you if you can present your body to it in the correct way. So that's going to be part of what we talk about with the floating walk. It is known, and Masaki Atsumi and other martial artists have mentioned that shortening the stride is an important aspect when you're walking. That using a long stride is actually more weakening for the body. So that's maybe something you want to bear in mind, not to be kind of striding out too big when you walk, but to shorten the steps. And when you shorten the steps, what you tend to find is you have to use gravity a little bit more. If you consider the geisha and the kimono that the Japanese wear, in order to walk in those, you have to use the body differently. You can't stride out the same. So you have to organize yourself with a degree of instability and gravity and begin to float across the floor. Okay, so coming to this idea of the floating walk, part of it is a descent down to the ground. But this is the element that can lead you to confusion. If you just descend down into the ground kind of just pushes back and you don't really feel like you're gaining any kind of, should we say, saving in energy when you move. You just feel actually that you're kind of pressing more into the ground. But even with that, when you lift a suitcase up, because our bodies are a tensegrity, you'll find that you're getting pushed back at equally. One of the key discoveries for me in the floating walk idea is this idea of stretching yourself out. And it's been known in martial arts demonstrations of this that the body, when it's stretched out, is stronger. And we need to look at that in our walking. okay, that we are lifted from above and also we're sinking from below. So we have this kind of effect going on in the internal mechanics of the body as we walk. And you'll soon see that that starts to become the floating idea of walking. It becomes very natural and easy to walk in that way, as opposed to a more cumbersome, striding, stomping down, trying to press into the ground kind of concept. So just lightly, it's kind of a lift and a relaxation together, not just a lift and not a pulling up of the shoulders. It's more, imagine there's a string and it's got a hot air balloon above you, and it's drawing you gently upwards, whilst at the same time you're being drawn down into your feet, your legs are relaxed, and then you move like that. I don't quite have enough space to get moving with this. Now, there's other aspects to this as well. One of the other aspects you can do with this is the lifting of the toes towards the shin. Why would you do that? Well, what the lifting of the toes does is it engages the plantar aspect of the foot, and those tissues connect the fascia and the ligamentous system of your body together. So in other words, it unifies you. It takes the looseness out of your body before you walk. So that's another important element. Another element and aspect you can use is the pelvis. By tipping the pelvis forwards whilst we're engaged in this type of walking, or tipping it back, you actually feel different effects. Now, although some people would recommend this tilting of the pelvis as part of this walk, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, personally you just have to be careful that you're not exaggerating a curvature in the lower lumbar spine that could be detrimental to you. So for now, just experiment with it. Just as when you go on your daily walk, I hope you walk daily, just relaxing and floating. You can maybe curl your toes up and just relax, get some momentum, and feel like you're being drawn forwards from the waist, okay? Gravity will take you very naturally, almost like a sail being dragged in the wind on across the ocean waters, because believe me, this is a more energy efficient way of moving, and this was emphasized massively, this type of movement, by Masaaki Hatsumi. And if you watch the way he walks differently to other people, and he's such a great martial artist. It's something to be studied. Now, there's a lot more to this topic than I'm covering here, but this is a good introduction, I think. And I think we'll go back downstairs and just talk about some other elements to this to try and expand on it. Okay, so let's sum up some more bits on the floating walk. The main points that I want you to kind of just grasp from this video, because I think it probably needs 3-4 more videos just to add the extra aspects onto this. But I wanted to start you off with something you can practice. So here's the main things I'd want you to get and have a little play with. First one would be the big toe. Just practice engaging the big toe. Just see how it changes your walk, and try to reduce your stride as well. That's another key point. And when you do engage the big toe, just be aware that sometimes you'll tense your legs. You don't have to do that. It's just a gentle engagement of the toe to engage the plantar aponeurosis and get this ligament network going. So simultaneously, you want to think about actually maintaining relaxed legs while you just practice this engagement. Nothing forced, just a gentle engagement of the big toe. Just to play and practice with that concept. So the short strides, the big toe. The other thing is this key point was the using of gravity. That'll start to come naturally. Practice tilting the pelvis a little bit. We'll talk about the spine and the coccyx being like an imaginary tail and how that can help directionally move your mass in relation to gravity once you establish this feeling. And probably one of the most important aspects for me in terms of getting this floating kind of feeling in your walk is this stretching out. One of the other factors that's helped me with this stretching out, apart from what I've spoken about already, is it's like a preparatory movement. So what you're actually trying to do, imagine you're about to set off running. So you're in a walk and you're about to set off running. There's certain adjustments that you make in your body. It's those adjustments that are very similar to what I'm talking about in terms of this stretching out of the body to float within your walk. The stretching out is literally setting your structure so that it's more tensegrous, it's more like a bouncy ball that can bounce, or in our case float through across the earth or the terra firma that we're walking on. A more amusing sort of way of looking at it is when people do the shuffle dancing, where they're actually, sliding the feet back and forward. And that can be an amazing movement. But if you've ever actually tried to do it when you're, drunk at a wedding or this sort of thing, you have to engage your body before you can get this momentum, this shuffling type of momentum going. So this engagement is the same for this floating walk. There has to be a kind of relaxed setup in the system in order to do that. Okay, so just to sum up, what is the floating walk? Well, I don't think it's any particular special walk. It has been termed a floating walk by certain martial artists. But I think really what Masaaki Atsumi is trying to teach us is to get rid of and eliminate unnecessary force. And he's always emphasizing that in the martial art, using no power, don't use any strength. And it's really the same for this walk. It's a matter of relaxing. If you relax and embrace a little bit of a small amount of instability, what you actually start to do is move away from muscles. You're using the muscles more as brakes in the walking mechanism, and you're using more of the closed kinematic chain, engaging the ligaments of the body, which are very energy efficient. And we'll talk about that a lot more because I'm very interested in that aspect of things as well. So obviously there's benefits to this gentle instability and this floating kind of movement in martial arts. You're using less effort, but you're generating more power through the closed kinematic chain and the ground force reactions that you're getting through the floor. So rather than just sinking down and collapsing the structure, we're stretching it out to actually get this floating effect and to get this power, which is a slightly different way of looking at things, I think, than I originally looked at this. So I hope you very carefully play with this and see if you can find some benefit for yourself. And we're going to do some other videos on this, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, see you soon.